The CIA. Yeah, we're going to be opening up this can of worms this video. No. I do got to preface in the beginning, okay? This is not meant to be any serious critique on anything of anybody that may or may not be public or, still with us or may not be with us, okay? That's all it is, bro. It's a character, EthanOnEverything character. You get it, okay? And just for everybody's sake, everything that I'm covering is something that was admitted to that they did. Okay, and we are merely ranking these, not on the morality of them, but just on sheer wackiness. Because I'm sorry, if you told me that my tax dollars were going to Cold War Dolphins and Operation Acoustic Kitty, where we literally took a cat and implanted a battery pack into this thing and put a microphone behind its ear in order to spy on people in Stalingrad during the Cold War, and you told me that was something that was actually not only taken seriously, but they put in a couple $1 million into active development, I'm sorry, bro. I just want to talk about it, okay? And there's so much wackiness that have been going on in the CIA. Let me just say this right now, man. I can say it right now. The current CIA has lost the joy for the game, the love for the game. Because, bro, 1970 CIA, bro, I swear, these were the most unserious group of people of all time, dog. I'm sorry. How do you go from the poison weaponry that looked like a cane to, you know what, bro, maybe we just do a few social media campaigns. Wait, what? That's all you had to do? Dude, I'm sorry. We got a lot of wackiness that we're going to have to do. To give you a little bit of a teaser before we get into it, we are going to be covering some of the wackiest CIA operations that have occurred, okay? I have picked 10 of them just for the sake of keeping it lighthearted. But we got everything from Operation Acoustic Kitty to the Cold War CIA Dolphins to Operation Midnight Climax and, of course, that time where the CIA orchestrated fake vampire attacks to win a conflict against a guerrilla group. Yes, that was something that actually happened, okay? And if that sounds good to you, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and we're trying to get to 500,000 subscribers before the release of GTA 6. Bro, I just tripped over myself, bro. They were about to hit me with the heart attack weapon, okay? We'll cover that in a second. They're trying to get me early. Okay, people have been asking for some history content, and I think this was the best way to get back into the history stuff. Yes, we'll do Historical Aura Volume 3, but for the sake of getting us back into it for everybody involved, we're going to be going over some of the wackiest and weirdest things the CIA has admitted to doing. And if that sounds good to you, hit the bell icon, stay notified, and let's get into the video. Let's go. Operation Acoustic Kitty. Okay, so during the 1970s, there was a little something called the Cold War, okay? And that was when big Giga Chad USA was going up against Virgin USSR, okay? Giga Chad capitalism versus soy boy communism. Essentially, that's what it was. Hoorah, quadruple the defense budget, let's go. Anyways, well, one of the things that we were trying to figure out is where everybody was trying to figure out is how to get intelligence on the enemy. And one of the ways that we did, of the literal hundreds of ways, and I do want to say this right now because we're going to be getting into it, dude, one of the funniest rabbit holes you can go down, and I think I probably will make a video on it after researching for this, the sheer amount of weaponry we have either created or attempted to make that involves animals is hilarious. Before there were heat-seeking missiles, there was something as we put 3 pigeons in the tip of a warhead, and then those things would peck at the target. That wasn't just a thing that we thought of, it was something that not only, we made it, and it worked. Yeah, that was a thing. And that was... Don't even get me started on the bat and napalm attacks, dude. Oh my gosh, that's a whole other video in and of itself. But when we're talking about Operation Acoustic Kitty, okay? Because here in the USA, we like dogs, okay? I got a couple doggos in it on myself. But over there in Russia, bro, in the Soviet Union, okay? They really like cats, okay? Weirdos, I know. Anyways. And they love cats so much that they were the dominant pet that could be had over there. So what we were planning on doing was taking cats and planting battery packs into them and microphones into their ear, and then dropping them off on streets in Stalingrad, and then performing surveillance in hopes that a famous politician or some Soviet KGB leader was going to grab one and then be like, "Oh, hello, little man. Let me tell you about secret mission. Anyways, yes, that is how you get in to palace. Goodbye, little Miss Muffins. I am going back to KGB office. That's what they thought was going to happen. So what actually happened? Well, we actually successfully were able to make one, and then we put it on the streets of Manhattan, and it literally got hit by a bus within 15 minutes. We put in a couple $1 million into development, and this is where I'm going to get it wrong. One of the first things that was said after it got hit by a bus was, shit. And I'm going to be real, bro, I felt that in my soul. Who actually comes up with this stuff? A most unserious group of people of all time. Operation Acoustic Kitty. And, oh, for the metric. Imagine I'm the guy that gives funding, okay? As the American citizen, I inadvertently would be funding these, okay? And this would be if the CIA came up to me and gave me this operation, how likely I would to be giving it. What would be my response? And I'm going to be real here. I would hit them with a, but like, why though? Like, why? Why that, though? Like, why that? Like, I might be able to give you a little bit of this. I mean, how much money does it really take to put a battery pack inside of a kitty cat? But, like, on a real note, why, though? Like, why? Why do you gotta do that? Like, I feel like there's other ways, things that you could have done, but I'm going to put it in a why, though. It is pretty strange, but not the strangest one. The Cold War Dolphins. Okay, some people probably know this. So... You know when I said that we used animals a lot before we had drones and shit? Well, one of the animals that we were trying to recruit was dolphins. And dolphins are very, very effective. But they're also very, 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 how do I say this? They are menaces, bro. Okay, you don't be leaving them alone with anything that has an orifice, bro. Because they are going to go crazy style on it. I call them Dahmer fists because of how crazy they are. Okay, so we tried to train this one basically to perform surveillance and become like basically like... the canine unit of the Navy. That's essentially what we were trying to do with the Dolphins, okay? We even gave them a little poison dart gun that they could fire with their blowhole, which is hilarious that actually was able to work, and they were trained to deactivate submarine mines. So all around pretty based, I'm not even gonna lie. But here's the problem that they came into. They were also injecting, like, bro, for whatever reason, the CIA was just in love with the idea of LSD. It was hilarious how much they were into it. So they somehow were able to put that inside of the dolphin trial, and then a chick got in trouble for jorking a dolphin while they were both, one of them was getting injected with LSD. Absolutely insane, bro. But, like, I understand what they're trying to do, and it was such a weird ending of the experiment that the CIA themselves had to cut funding. Do you have any idea how weird you gotta be for the CIA to be like, brother, what? But the actual operation in itself, I actually understand it completely. Like I'm gonna be real here. I'm gonna put it in its strains, but I understand where we're coming from because it's like, yeah, if we're gonna recruit any animal for the Navy, I think it would be a dolphin. Now we gotta get them some discipline because they're a little bit crazy, a little bit hormonal. But I'm gonna put it in strains. You could convince me to do it. Operation Midnight Climax. I swear, bro, the CIA was These were the most unserious group of people. I'm sorry, let me give you what Midnight Climax was. Okay, so Operation Midnight Climax was, the CIA was putting money in the brothels where they would put one-way mirrors into the walls where basically they would have a dude basically sit in the cuck chair as he was watching other people get plowed by prostitutes. And, by women of the night. That's a better way to put it. By women of the night, essentially. Okay, I don't know if I'll censor that one out. By women of the night, and then they would silently dose them with, no-no powder. Which is like, what? So, part of the reason what they were trying to do is they were trying to see, and this was, again, part of, like, when we're getting into, like, MK Ultra and all that crazy shit. What essentially they were trying to do was they were trying to see, like, how much that they could, like, whittle somebody's, like, decision-making down to, like, they would do whatever they wanted them to do. That's essentially what I'm trying to, like, explain to you. Operation Midnight Climax was, like, the beginning of a lot of these weird experiments that they were doing. And I'm gonna be real here. You did what? You did what? I'm sorry, bro. My tax dollars went into basically, like, what? Whose job was it to sit in the cuck chair and write down everything that was happening? Like, that has to be one of the most gooner jobs I've ever heard of, dog. That is insane that is a real job that somebody had, and then they could just never bring it up for the rest of their days, bro. What? That's my reaction. So anyways, let me introduce you to Operation Midnight Climax. What are you doing? What type of gooner agency is you? Next, I ain't funding this. The Philippine vampire attack. So basically what was happening is I forget what, I think it was the Huck. the Hukalapa, I forget what it was, but it was a guerrilla group in the Philippines after during the Cold War, and we were trying to protect our interest in the Philippines, Vietnam, and all these other places because communism is cringe, capitalism is key, which is essentially what the Cold War basically boiled down to, was a self-interest versus Soviet self-interest, and Philippines was a questionable one because the Philippines used to be a colony of the United States, and then we gave that up after World War II because Japan was able to occupy them, and they attacked Pearl Harbor partly because for the same reason, how far away is from mainland United States. So we decided to let go of the Philippines, and one of the worries that we were having is that the Philippines was going to go commie. So what we decided to do was wage a war against this guerrilla group, and guerrilla groups are very difficult to beat if you have to focus on a ton of guerrilla groups. So one of the things that we decided to do was perform a psyop where we would take a few guerrilla fighters, string them upside down in trees, get a specially created weapon to do puncture holes that look like teeth in their neck, and then we would drain all of the blood from their body in order to say, oh look, the vampires are here. And the funniest part about it is that, like, actually worked for a little bit. Like, it did. No. Guerrilla fighters stopped going in certain regions because it was like, bro, there might be vampires here, and they might be working for the U.S. So the CIA has vampires, is essentially what happened. So, let me get this straight. So the CIA, because they were starting to lose a battle to a guerrilla group, decided to fake vampire attacks to get rid of their morale. Again, literally some of the pettiest human beings I've ever seen, but I'm not gonna lie to you. That's bro, that's smart. Like it is. I'm sorry, man. Imagine if that's how, like, old conflicts were fought today. Like, we had to, like, do some Scooby-Doo plots to stop people and get rid of their morale. I'm sorry, man. You can't convince me that the vampire attacks was not at bare minimum extremely creative. I would put money on that. Smart. Get it done. We could have created vampires. No, we just faked a few. Put it right there. All the attempts on Fidel Castro. Bro, it was over 200 of them. I've talked about it on the channel before, but it's been a minute. So they tried to get rid of Fidel Castro so many times. We nearly started World War III to do it, okay? But some of my favorite ones that we're going to bring up that the CIA was involved in was we created an exploding cigar, which was essentially a Looney Tunes way of taking somebody out. We essentially took a cigar and turned it into a dynamite a dynamite candle. I think it's a dynamite stick. And where he would light it, it would blow up in his face. And he didn't do that because somebody was stealing his cigars, and he was able to find out after he had examined it. And then another one we tried to do was, he really enjoyed scuba diving, so we were going to put a bright sea cell on the bottom of the floor in hopes that he would maybe go down to get it. And then he would stab himself on, like, some toxic needle, and then he would die. That didn't work because, of course it didn't work. And then there was another one where we got a mistress of Fidel Castro to assassinate him, and we got so close to it working, the mistress and the Fidel Castro were together in a room, and we were actively telling her, get the job done, get rid of Fidel. We even offered her a way out right afterwards. She would have gotten out scot-free. She just didn't do it and proceeded to sleep with Fidel Castro. And we asked her what happened, and she said, I didn't expect him to be like that. What? Insane, bro. Fidel might be him, bro. Like the king of the Riz game, okay? And here's the thing, man. I understand America bad, especially what happened with Cuba, but, like, Fidel Castro literally was, like, not good at all. Like, Fidel also is not good. Now, if you want to make the argument that that's better for Cuba, you can have that argument, and I think we forced the hand of Fidel Castro, especially if you look into the Bay of Pigs incident, and you look at stuff like that, I agree with you. But at the same time, dude, like, my reaction to this is, huh? It took you how many times? And you still couldn't get it done? Huh? That's really what I gotta do it. Why you gotta be so super creative on this? I'm gonna put it right there. Operation Northwoods almost happened. It didn't actually happen, but it almost happened. So anyone who doesn't know what Operation Northwoods is, it's essentially where there was a bunch of ideas going around in, like, these focus groups inside of, like, high, like, politics and the CIA, and they were trying to instigate a war with Cuba. Again, because they were trying to get rid of Fidel Castro. And then you had the Bay of Pigs incident, which JFK kind of more or less said no to because he stopped the air support from coming in, which may or may not have had the Bay of Pigs incident work. We don't know. We don't know. That's a whole other gray area that we can get into. But when we're getting into, like, Operation Northwoods, what essentially happened was one of the ideas that they had is that they were going to, for the sake of keeping it lighthearted. We were going to rig up a passenger plane to fly near Cuba, and then we were going to blow it out of the sky with maybe people on it, maybe no people on it. It's a we don't know. We don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And then we were going to use that as a way to get into a war with Cuba, into a hot war, so we can get rid of Fidel Castro and install somebody into power. Now, that instantaneously got shot down because the mere thought that we would do a false flag event to get into a conflict with Cuba is absolutely insane that was proposed and even thought about. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. But at the same time, what? Like, that would be my reaction. What do you mean you want to come to my funding for a false flag event where I might have to go to war with Cuba? I'm going to put it in what? That's insane, bro. The MK Ultra experiments. Now, Operation Midnight Climax, Operation MK Ultra, and another one we're going to come. I'm going to do this afterwards. Operation Stargate. We're all kind of in the same family, but they all kind of led into each other. So, Operation MK Ultra is we were trying to create basically a spy that would do something against their own will. So we're trying to make a double agent that was unaware that he was working for the United States. And that's what we were trying to do with MK Ultra. And a lot of this stuff was starting to involve not just like LSD and other substances. We were starting to evolve stuff that was like borderline magic. And then it didn't go anywhere really. But the idea that MK Ultra was a thing, that we were literally like taking people, dosing them, and trying to do like remote viewing with people is absolutely hilarious that was even attempted. And the fact that they just came out and said, okay, well, our bad. Like, no. I do gotta bring this up because I do like hear people like, oh, okay, there's a conspiracy. No. You get this. You misunderstand this. The only reason we know about MK Ultra is because a secretary misplaced the files that were about MK Ultra. They literally burned everything else about it. The stuff that we know about MK Ultra is the only things that survived of the years that they were doing it. It was only a few papers that were meant to be destroyed, by the way. But because of Freedom of Information Act, they came out on a technicality. So, don't even get me started on things that probably were never written down, which is, again, kind of crazy. But I'm going to put MK Ultra, honestly, bro. I'm going to put it in... not even that. I'm going to put it in why, though. Why, though? Like, I understand to a certain point, but, like, why, though? I feel like there's an easier way to do this, and I'm going to put it there. Operation Stargate. So, Operation Stargate was the third incarnation of what was, like, Operation Midnight Climax and MK Ultra, where we basically, what we're trying to do is use psychics and remote viewing to seize submarines and, like, Soviet positioning. And that ties back to... So, basically, a lot of the CIA stuff more or less kind of came down to, like, spyware and, like... Hey, maybe psychics and remote viewing actually do work. And then a lot of the papers that came out, more or less, are very fudzed in order to justify funding. So most of the times it was bullshit. But Operation Stargate was essentially that. We were trying to do a lot of remote viewing. And again, we injected LSD into it because we just loved LSD for whatever reason. And then we were trying to do remote viewing to start a whole... Basically, bro... Think of Warhammer 40k. We were trying to have the Psychers. We were trying to have psionic warfare during the Cold War, and I think there was even a paper that said psionic warfare is the future. Which is, again, fucking insane that got funding, bro. I'm putting that in what? That is insane to me. What you're telling me you want to try to do psionic warfare. Insane. The poison weapon. Okay, that's the best way that I can describe it. I don't want to get flagged. I'm already too far in the video. So essentially what they did, this was already confirmed, is it was a weapon, a force multiplier that kind of looked like a cane, and it saw frozen poison that went into the body, and it felt like a mosquito bite. And when the poison thawed, when it got inside of the body, it would make the body basically die of a heart attack that was untraceable and would be like the perfect way of nobody knowing about it. And what I mean by poison, it was literally shooting like a tiny icicle of frozen poison, and as it got into the body, it would cause somebody to have a heart attack. That's essentially what it was. And that, I'm gonna be real with you, that sounds like something a kindergartner would think up, and then everybody around them would be like, no, that's never gonna work. The fact that it worked, and they were like so happy that they made it that they showed it off to like Congress, is so crazy to me, because it's like, so we have that, why does that not get used more often? What do you mean you made a heart attack weapon? You made a weapon that can just induce heart attacks? And it's untraceable? Because it's like natural poison? Oh my gosh, bro. I'm putting it, this is smart. It just is. I'm not even a hater, bro. Good on you. You created a weapon that is just untraceable. That's awesome. Smart. The Banana Republic incident. So I've talked about this before in the Evil Companies video. So basically, they renamed themselves Chiquita Banana, but you ever heard Banana Republic? Essentially what Banana Republic refers to is the fact that Chiquita Banana, or by their old name, went to the US government and more or less kind of told them, hey, yo, bro, Guatemala's coming socialist, and socialism's basically communism, so we need the U.S. government to come in and overthrow the democratically elected leader so we can install a new person that's pro-banana. And let me tell you why they did that, because Chiquita Banana was borderline using the fuck out of Guatemala, where, like, they're chilling in Guatemala and using all of the people they possibly can in just completely inhumane working conditions, to the point that they actually got trouble for recruiting death squads to get rid of union leaders. Yes, that is an actual thing that they got tried with, and dude, that's insane. What do you mean Chiquita Banana gotten in trouble for recruiting death squads to get rid of union leaders? That sounds like cyberpunk. Now, to give the CIA some credit here, they are very loosely involved, because what happened is Chiquita Banana went to the government, lobbied for it, gave a lot of money, basically saying, hey, yo, we need you to overthrow Guatemala. And this was before the Bay of Pigs. This was the first Bay of Pigs, by the way. So they went there, it worked, and then some people in the government went to the CIA, which were the ones that would take over this, because they were doing all sorts of crazy shit. And then the CIA came up with a plan to do it, and then it successfully worked. Basically Bay of Pigs, but like done a little bit better on Guatemala. And they overthrew the entire government of Guatemala, basically for bananas. I'm not even kidding you. We overthrew the ruling class of Guatemala for a banana company. So, Banana Republic. That is where that comes from. What? I'm sorry, bro. That is so silly. And no, like, if you want to ask me, were they actually so... Let me ask you a question. Tell me if this is socialism. So Chiquita Banana owned more land in the country of Guatemala than almost the entirety of the working class. And the government came to them, said, hey, oh, you got to give up some of that, or at bare minimum, make the benefits better for people who work there, okay? And then Chiquita Banana said, Swiss, miss me with that bullshit. I'm going to Big Bro USA, and we're going to take you out. And that's essentially what they did. Brother, that's just common sense. That's not socialism. What are you talking about? What? That would be my reaction. And there you go. Those are some of the wackiest things that the CIA has ever done. Everything that I've stated is public. Very much above the board was admitted to. Freedom of Information Act. Everything here is admitted to. Okay, so there's nothing crazy. And if that sounds good, if you enjoyed the video, please consider like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 250,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and 500,000 subscribers before the release of GTA 6. Okay, I want to do a history video, and I felt like this was fun enough to do. I kept it relatively short because there is a lot, and I wanted to like get into a few of them more than I could. And yeah, I probably will make a dedicated video for it. Like, some of these need a dedicated video, bro. From everything from Midnight Climax to Operation Stargate, that can get a whole full video. If there's anything you want me to do a dedicated video on that was in here, leave it in the comment section down below. And with all that out of the way, I hope to see you in the next video. Adios, guys.